I am studying
Pretty good.
Yeah.
He was living in Calgary and he was going to be trained operator. Supervisor, 6 weeks. 2 weeks. They said I'm in my third term. Thank you. So he's doing his lifelong and learning. Are you ready? Okay. We're ready to start. Okay. Welcome to the Board of Education regular meetings for November 23rd, 2022. We're just asking our presenters to come in because we have 2 presentations before we start the actual board meeting. But I would like to start by acknowledging that we are, with respect, doing our school district business on the territories of the Gitxsan, Haisla, Nisga'a, and Tsimshian people. We're privileged to be working on their lands, living with them, playing, working, and looking after their children and families. Welcome, presenters. Hi, how are you guys doing? So I understand Nancy Tormini is going to introduce her team so that I don't have to remember too many names there. I recognize the faces, sorry, but names don't stick.
Nancy Crane, principal of Kitimat City High, and I'm very pleased to have brought Catherine Bell with me, who is a teacher at our school, and Rachel. This is what we also teach at Kitimat City High. I'll move out of the way. Anyway, pretty much our presentation is based on. I feel like I'm in the way. Somebody's seeing me from Zoom or something.
Yeah, sorry, Wayne is on by Zoom.
Hi, Wayne. I know Wayne.
Nancy, how you doing, Nancy?
Good. How are you doing? You know,
Good.
always named and everything's cute. Pretty much our presentation is the power of relationship and connection. What is working for us at Kitimat City High? And really not working for us. What is working for our youth in Kitimat when they end up with us? So we're going to talk a little bit about how some of our programs are, Capital Breakfast Program, and also our social emotional empathy dog. And Rachel will touch upon more about the power of connection. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to take from you guys, but how things have progressed through the years. I've been there for 7 years, and I have a very strong team. Sunny used to work for us too, with us. And it's been an amazing progression in the last 7 years, and it seems to get better every single year. We work together quite well. We laugh a lot, sometimes cry a lot, show emotions, but what's working is the voice, allowing the students to have a voice of what works for them. And we want them to be comfortable coming to school. First and foremost, before the academics play a role, it's getting to know who they are, and for them to get to know who we are. We're quite, I guess, transparent, I guess, that's a good word, of who we are. And like I said, there's choices. A shirt that Kathy has, which it's in the other room, is, and I believe Sunny was there when I make good choices. At the end of every meeting, it's make good choices. We're all going to make mistakes. We make mistakes all the time, but it's try to make the good choices. And then if you're not making the good choices, let's work together in order to move forward. So that's all I'm going to say right now. Wayne, you're tired of hearing me. And
Thank you.
I just wanted to show, this is just from, sorry, Kathy, from October when we had Truth and Reconciliation. This is just a small portion of our students that want to come outside. Again, choice to come outside and just have a cool picture. And if you really look closely there, you'll see a lot of laughter and smiling kids.
And at that time was actually, all our students, we had orange paint and they dipped their hand in. And so every student who wanted to was able to put their handprint on our sign. And it meant a lot to the kids, and now it's up in our multi-purpose room. And
It was quite fun, actually. And Debbie did, Debbie's our First Nation youth sport worker, and she spearheaded that. And it was actually a fun presentation, wasn't fun, but it was very educational. But yet the handprints, the kids were having a good time. And I believe Erin came to within that week and saw us. It was kind of cool. Anyway, thank you. Yeah. I could talk all day. So again, from Brene Brown, but it doesn't have to be said from Brene Brown. It could be said from all of us here. Connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. Regardless of what has happened in your past, this is who you are. We want to know who you are and work with you. Let me give and receive without judgment. And that's a big thing when they come to do applications with us. Tell me the truth. Tell me what's going on in your life. There's no judgment. I'm not gonna criticize or do whatever. We're there to listen. And when they drive sustenance and strengthen the relationship. So that's pretty much it. I'm gonna stop talking because I'm gonna go to the next slide. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, I guess I can do my bit now. I'll do my bit now. Hi, my name is Rachel. I've been working at KCH for the past, this is my 4th year. It was actually my husband who also works at KCH. He said, I was looking for a change from St. Anthony's. And he said, I think you would really like it here. And he knows I always loved sort of like the kids who are labeled as naughty and a little bit, troublesome. I just find them interesting and kind of quirky and fun, and I'm kind of quirky and accepting. And I'm gonna just tell you why I love working at KCH. We really do take the connection piece really, really seriously. So we make sure that when the students arrive, they are able to connect with at least 2 adults. We try and make sure we check in with them at least once a week, if not more. We're in constant contact with parents and with the students about where they're at and where they need to be. And we find that when they arrive, they're usually kind of a little bit, almost like a little bit gun shy to just be themselves. And when you actually sit down and talk to them and say, hey, is there anything I actually need or you need help with? They'll start to open up slowly. And you get to see these wonderful, amazing personalities kind of grow and develop, and you see them gain their confidence, and then they're willing to try a little bit more. And then, you tell them, oh, this is a great essay. Do you think you could just make a few of these little changes? It'll sharpen it up. And they're like, yes, I can do it. And they're so willing to give of themselves once they're actually connected with you. And I knew I loved KCH because I teach PE. And PE is always like an interesting kettle of fish for lots of people, and lots of them hated it. And then I realized one day when we just put music on and we focus on having fun and having a good time, that all of my really super sporty kids who knew that they'd been seen and heard with everything that they'd experienced in their life, they all of a sudden were willing to give the kindness that we are able to show them to other people. So you have like this big, huge basketball player passing and making sure that every single person is included. And it was like kind of at that day where I'm like, I really feel like this is the right place for me. And again, PE is not always competitive anymore.
Well,
Except for basketball Tuesdays.
Well, you got a room this big to have a gym too. It's pretty much our gym size, so you have to really be quite creative. I'm not lying. Sunny's laughing at me. But
It's a small gym. We have to make some adjustments, but we put on music and we have fun, and we actually just focus on being kind and making sure everybody's trying their best. So it really, for me, that's been wonderful. But one of the things that Nancy said before is to be authentically ourselves. So I am a little bit, I don't know, I'm a little bit weird, quirky. Sometimes I'm a little bit of a hot mess. Okay, but I'm doing my best. And the kids see that. And when I need grace, I'm like, I just need you guys to do this for 5 minutes so I can get this and this sorted out, and then I'm going to meet you. They are so willing to do it for you.
I just need to interject. Rachel always has food in her classroom. She's the one that's going to go and get the apples and cut them off and have the mandarin oranges or the food in there. And I think that's a good connection with them too.
Yeah.
Because they're
Genetically, I'm a feeder.
Yeah. It's pretty fun. Sorry, I had to share that.
No, I'm just gonna make sure, I get a little bit nervous public speaking, but I will make sure that I've said everything. Yeah, I think the most important thing that I wanted to say was that each one of them knowing that they have been seen and that you get to hear their story. And when they really tell you what's going on, some of them are heartbreaking. And because we have such a good team, we meet together. Sometimes we have a little cry, and then we try and figure out what the best way to move forward is supporting these students. And it really, for me, it has been one of the most rewarding places to work and such a fantastic team. So that's my speech. Sorry, probably didn't take too long.
No, you didn't. I don't even know if that's what it is. You want me to talk about that? So again, this is your choice. Spencer does the outdoor education program. That's Rachel's husband. And he's done a lot of cool things with the outdoor education program. We built the smokehouse and stuff with bees, and we got the garden. But this was just a couple weeks ago that the bees were really busy this summer because the heat was so nice. And last year, I think we made 27 jars of honey. Well, bees did 27 jars of honey, and this year we have 127 or something. So it is on sale. If you guys inside, send me an email, but they're on sale right at $15. I'm not trying to sell it, but you don't have to. Let me taste it. It's amazing. But 250 ml jar for the students, including, and then with Debbie and Spencer, they took all the labels. Our students made the labels, so, and the kids did the jarring with the teacher. And we saved the wax for the cottonwood one that we also did. So there's a lot of hands-on and with the land that we did. So it's pretty cool. So Spencer has some really great ideas. And then we all kind of like go along, and Kathy's our students join in, and then yeah. Okay, next slide. Next slide. No. This is just a couple of pictures. You want to talk about the robotics briefly?
Yep, this is one of our lovely students, the very tall gentleman up there. And this was the first time we did robotics at KTH, and we decided to go into one of the competitions, but unfortunately all the kids were younger. And I was like, oh, I wonder if you're gonna feel weird. And you know what? They didn't. They took it in stride. All the younger kids came up to them and were asking questions about their robots and how they did the programming. And it was really nice to see the students that I brought opening up and sharing their knowledge with younger kids. And just getting that sense of pride and connection and confidence that they might have lacked from other experiences.
That's it on the right hand side. That was just not just a truth and reconciliation day. She asked if she wore her traditional outfit. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Well, you do it. And it was nice since another new student that came to us this year. Very quiet, but it was nice to see her culture. She's very rich in culture. It's very nice to hear. She's spoken up a lot. She's accepted. It's beautiful. The bottom left hand, Spencer took a group of students last week up to Black Mountain, actually. Search and rescue. And the snowmobile club also. I think 7 students went. They made it to the top. They had a nice fire going, ate their lunch, dry off, but it's experiences, taking them out again to the land. They're learning so much more than if they stay in school. And again, it's choice. Who wants to go? It's his outdoor education class, but it was students that want to participate. We're not making them do something they're not comfortable with. And listening to them the next day, other than it was exciting, but it was awesome listening to the stories and them helping each other. It was just beautiful. Anyway, that's why he was fun. We have more choices. Kathy, it's maybe your turn soon. But just more choices. That's well done. We're doing capstone, but just because of the pictures, he chose to make a skateboard, and I thought from scratch. So that was pretty cool. And then Callie, she's served her here with us. And she's really, really grown in those years. And she's gaining her confidence. She's becoming a swim instructor actually, and that's her capstone. So it's her journey through. Sorry, I'm yelling in your ears. It's her journey and growth from the last few years, from not believing that she could swim, not believing that she could do her OFA first aid, and overcoming these obstacles and developing into a very confident young woman now. It's amazing to see the growth. That's why I think those pictures. Yeah, all about Kathy.
And this is my dog. I'm her handler. Her name's Maya. And she's been coming to our school since she was 4 months old. And she's being trained to be a therapy dog. She now has her level 1. And in January, she'll have her level 2. Sometimes when students come to us, they're not able to connect with people. They're super shy. Sid barely say hi. Clarissa rarely says hi to anyone. But Clarissa, you'll find her going into my room in the morning and saying good morning to Baya. And Clarissa's not the only one. We have many students who first connect with Baya and then later connect with the adults and the other students in the school. And so, and I don't know if any of you have seen any of the studies on support dogs in schools where they've actually done saliva tests on students where they measure their cortisol as a stress hormone, which you produce. And so they measure their cortisol levels in the saliva before having contact with the support dog and then after. And their cortisol levels are reduced, significantly reduced after like 15 minutes with a support dog. And we definitely see this. I have students who come in and they are very stressed. They walk in, they spend a bit of time with Baya, and then soon they're able to settle and go back to work. It's been an amazing experience having her there, and I'm grateful that we have been able to. And the other thing that I want to mention that we don't have a slide for is we do a lot of connecting outside, as you can see, of our actual curriculum. We also, every teacher in our school and one of the support workers volunteer one morning a week, and we make a hot breakfast for our students. It's an amazing time to connect. Not every student comes, and it is our own time. Nobody has to do it, but it makes a big difference. And if students have their bellies full, and it's an informal chatting time and check-in time, and we find it makes a difference. And you may not know that we have a lunch program also that the students do pay for. Breakfast Club pays for our breakfast, but lunches the students actually have to pay for, but they have a hot lunch every day of the week.
For those who, sorry, I just want,
Go ahead.
for those who cannot afford it, we do provide them with lunches.
Part of it.
Yeah, so the students are.
Because we know that if you don't have a full belly or something in your belly, it's very difficult to focus and learn. You don't have those higher grades.
I'm just going to end a couple of reflections from our students. We get reflections at the end of every school year, and also part of Rachel's English program, there's a reflection on what KCH or how they are. Do you want me to read it? Or do you want to read it?
This is from one of my lumpy students who is an amazing young lady who has faced more challenges than a lot of people. And when I was reading through her reflection, it came to the end, and she said, now I'm here 2 years later, and I'm not scared of failing anymore. I don't need a good grade to give me validation about myself anymore. I am more than a number, stereotype, and addiction. I am not a cool girl. I am that's her name.
That's her name.
And I am what I want myself to be. My sponsor was always there for me, even when my teenage angst would shell her into silence. My counselor consoled me when I fell on my knees in tears. My principal accepted me despite the hard truths on my entrance letter, and these things gave me a reason to try harder than I ever have because they believed in me when I thought no one did. This was my path to success, and thank you for coming along with me.
I have more, but I think we'll end with this. When I mentioned the relationship connections, we love where we are. We enjoy going to school every day. Some days are more difficult than others because we're emotionally invested in their lives. And thank God we have each other, because if we didn't have each other, it'd be quite difficult to get through. So we help one another. So I had another one, but I'm not going to read it. This is one of many. Every child has their story. True. So thank you for listening about KCA.
So thank you very much. See you.
Thanks for
Drive safe. So next, I understand we have Geraldine and Tina to present.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tina McDonald, the District Vice Principal of Early Learning. I'm not touched with meeting you yet. All right. Sorry. Could be better. All right, I did do this presentation a little earlier to the board in shorter detail, so some of it is going to be a repetition. Now, thinking back, so with 28 years, this is my 28th year as a teacher and administrator, 16th year. When I was looking at early learning, it was always instilled in us that you put your best teachers in kindergarten. Your strongest teachers are your kindergarten teachers, your grade 1 teachers, because they're the ones that set the pace. Not only that, you want that first experience to be the best experience, so it carries them forward all through to grade 12. So that was always something when I was hiring, when I was looking at, shuffling people that might be better suited as a principal, all of those factors. Now, early learning isn't just in schools starting in kindergarten, we're starting at 0. Right from birth, we have programs that are offered in British Columbia. I came from Alberta, and we were not as fortunate in Alberta to have these kinds of programs. So early learning, like I mentioned before, I had done my teacher training to grade 4 to 10, and I spent all of my education, my teaching time in junior and senior high. So when I became an administrator, my area of growth needed to be early learning, and I focused all my attention into there. So this is how I ended up into this position. Now, if we look at how we're structuring all of our early learning programs within the district, we're going to be looking at the 2 frameworks to guide us. So the early learning framework and our Indigenous early learning and child care framework. And within these frameworks, within the early learning framework, there actually are modules that anyone in early learning can complete on their own. It's a 10-hour module, 3 modules that break down the activities, how to structure teaching within your preschool setting or any of the early learning setting. And as a result of that, we have funded this year all of our Strong Start coordinators 10 hours to do so that it was that they had the ability to do that without having it to be on their own time. And moving forward, all of our positions, there will be a requirement that they complete the early learning framework training as well. And the importance is moving forward in education is that we're incorporating Indigenous education into all of our practice, and the Indigenous education early learning and childcare framework, actually, they go hand in hand with the early learning, because it's all talking about learning is holistic, how kids learn, how kids are connected naturally to the land, and how kids flourish when they have the opportunity to experience hands-on learning. And the whole idea of going all the way until grade 3, which is the age of 8 years old, is so that we carry that forward, so kids have that rich connection from 0 all the way to 8. And then hopefully that continues on, because it'll be modeled for all through K through 3, and then we don't want to just cut them off at 4. So we're hoping that this trend will continue, and teachers will see the value of hands-on learning, active play, outdoor play, and the connection with the land and science. As I mentioned, this is one of the slides from the last time. So currently we have 4 programs that we offer for early learning. Ready, Set, Learn is an introductory to kindergarten. So the year before or 2 years before, the principals would invite people in their catchment area to either attend individual sessions or group sessions to see their readiness for kindergarten, so that they have opportunities to go through the school, meet with staff that would be working with them, etc. Geraldine and I are going to be working on a comprehensive package on how we could do that better, so that kids really feel that their place is in school, because the reality is that our programs are in certain areas, but not all areas. And additionally, we're not reaching everyone. So we want to make sure that those first introductions are accessible to everyone in the community, so that when they transition into kindergarten, they feel that that's a new home for them to be, home away from home. Our next one is Strong Start. So currently we have 3 in Terrace. So we have the Thornhill location, Cassie Hall, and Sioux Locks. And those programs are 5 sessions. Only Sioux Locks doesn't offer it 5 days consecutive. They do 2 sessions on Wednesdays. They do an outreach one to all of our new people coming into Canada. So she slowly works with, I forgot the name of that facility, Schema Diversity. With Schema Diversity, she goes there on Wednesday mornings and then slowly integrates those people into the program at SULAC. We are looking at expanding. Oh, and then we have one in Kitimat as well. So we are looking at expanding. I've had opportunity to sit in on all 4 centers and go to some of their sessions. It's really interesting to watch our Strong Start coordinators engage with parents, engage with kids from 0 to 5, have planned activities. They are juggling things for 3 hours, feeding them, engaging with them, and providing them opportunities to link with outside agencies such as CDC if kids have some diverse abilities, and outside agencies that can support their child's physical, medical, and needs that are found within our community. And the Just Before Preschool, that's what we're piloting this year. So we are going to pilot 1 program, possibly 2 programs this year, but we haven't decided yet, and the location has yet to be determined. It's all going to be based on licensing. The one for sure that we're going to pilot is going to be 10 spots. Before we decided on how we're going to roll this out, we have had opportunities to talk to programs in town that offer that offer preschool as well, to make sure that we wouldn't be taking away from programs, taking away from existing programs. Right? And the last one is Seamless Day Kindergarten. And again, we have been granted piloting for that 1 program within Terrace, and this is a before and after school. And when I spoke to all the different groups that offer childcare, one of the areas that we're falling short in Terrace, well, in all the areas, is before and after school care. So Seamless Day is exactly that. The idea is to focus on kindergarten students. However, depending on the need, then we look to either expanding it to grade ones or the kindergartens and siblings. These programs, again, are huge with active play. Even within the licensing, they're the recommendations of the technology being minimum. Technology is not allowed at all in the Just Before program because it's under 3 hours. And then for the seamless day kindergarten, it's on, you know, if the gym was not available and it was pouring rain and unbearable outside, they might be able to put a short clip on type of thing. However, the whole goal is that the kids are experiencing, doing things that keep them active and engaged into having some fun within the school setting.
I'm just going to step in and just give an overview. So how Tina's position was funded was through ministry funding. So it wasn't funding we had already in-house. We got this extra funding to allow for her position to be posted so that this work could be a focus for an individual. So we're really grateful for that and grateful to have Tina on board. The pilots that we're referring to as well all came with funding. So there's Seamless Day funding, there's Just Before funding, and then there's another program called CP4YC, which we received funding for. So all of those items are all coming from the ministry's funding of this initiative in childcare. Okay. There's one other thing that I want to touch on, and that's ECE workers. So we know that we're having a lot of challenges provincially with filling positions for ECEs. So we within the district, as I mentioned earlier in my piece about my connection to trades, we're looking at how can we offer some dual credit offerings for our students to take ECE training. And so while we are working with Coast Mountain College on that, we also are engaging with some other organizations, Northern Lights, for example. So we're trying to keep our options open as wide as we can so that we can offer the best opportunity for students. And also, it's really important to us, and we hear very loudly from community, that our students do better when they're doing face-to-face training. And we truly believe that in order to be an ECE worker, you really need to be face-to-face. You need to be in the facilities and working with children and not just sitting behind a computer. So we're working really hard with the college to ensure that the offerings that we do give our students are face-to-face in nature, so that we're setting them up for success. So we're moving into that hopefully next year.
All right, so our work so far. So one of the big projects that I had to undertake was an environmental survey of all facilities that Coast Mountain School District own and either operate or lease out. So for your information, in case you're not aware, we lease out PACES to PACES Daycare, Coast Mountain Children's Society. They have buildings in E.T. Kenny and also in Kitimat. We have a facility that's running out of Kadala in Kitimat. I think that's, oh yes, thank you, Copper Mountain as well. So all of those are independently run while they have a board. So, but at the same time, we still have to report on everything that we have within our district. And then we add all of the programs, the Ready, Set, Learn, the aside is part of this environmental study Just Before Seamless Day, Strong Start. So that is some of the big work that I've been working on, is getting all of these documents ready for the ministry. And actually, I'm a little bit of an eager beaver. So when I have a task, I have to go at it. This was due in July of 2023, and I have completed it. So it's all right, because it gives me more time to get other projects on the go. So that was a big undertaking, and actually I was pretty proud because the ministry asked if they could use mine to help guide the learning of other school districts on that. So, all right. Yes.
Okay, so I'm just going to pick up where Tina mentioned a program called ASSAI. So that's another acronym that we've been referring to, and that's ASSAI, and it's After School Sports and Arts Initiative. So we have 5 schools that participate in that in the district, and that's activities that are planned for children that are related to sports and art at as I say, 5 of our facilities. And we have very high participation rates in those programs. We're very, very proud of those numbers. One of our schools has over 200 students taking part. So that just gives you an idea of all the different things that are going on related to activities for children. The next thing on this list is visits to all primary locations. So in order to get a good understanding of what's going on in our district, and Tina being new, we were going out to every one of our primary schools to determine the feasibility of having these programs added to their facilities, and discussing with the people that work there what that would potentially look like to try to find sites that are optimal.
So one of the things that we also did while we were there is looking at the staff that could be, that are already existing as ECE workers working as EAs, to try to maximize our capacity that are already within our own district before we start looking elsewhere. Met with stakeholders. So part of when I started in August, I started reaching out to the daycare facilities and had meetings with some of them. Some of them were virtual, some of them were in person. I went to CDC and I met with a group there. I walked in, I was driving because I'm new to Terrace, so I was driving around and I saw CCRR, so I went in and I ended up jumping in on one of their meetings and got to meet a whole bunch of people just by random. So very interested in letting people know what we're up to, that our whole goal is to support the existing programs, not to deplete anyone. We're not looking to recruit from other agencies. Again, our whole idea is to build the capacity within our own establishment and continue to support all the other facilities that are local. I've also started taking part in some other organizations and some other committees that work with early learning to make sure that our voice is heard there. And I've also met with Vicki from Coast Mountain, and hopefully in the spring we're going to start going to the communities to try to get more people interested into being a part of the early learning programs, either at the college or elsewhere. I've also worked to inform our principals of all the grants that are available for EC training, so that if there's anyone that has begun their EC but not completed it, that they could also access that as well.
So the next item is communication. So Tina's spoken about how she's gone out and spoken to all these people. Communication is key in the success of these kinds of programs. And the order that we do this communication in, we're trying our utmost to be very respectful of the order. So as we go through the people that we want to inform about the locations that we are selecting, we're trying to ensure that people are told so that they are not finding out through a grapevine that this is something and they're being blindsided about it. So it's being done in a very systematic way and a thoughtful way. That's why we're not announcing things yet, because we haven't got the licensing. And then if something were to go sideways with licensing for some unknown reason, then at least we wouldn't have gotten people's hopes up about a particular program going to a particular place.
The next point is working with Northern Health on licensing. So it's quite extensive to get licensing into facilities. I've been very fortunate that we had some ministry documents that we could follow along and get a lot of information. I met with them last Friday for the licensing. And because I applied for licensing in October, and I think it was October 6th, and I just had my meeting last Friday with licensing after chasing a little bit. So I went forward to apply for as many things as we're hoping to have coming for next school year to get the ball rolling early. However, we just met for licensing specifically for the Just Before that we want to introduce, as the Seamless Day hasn't even been assigned yet to one of the
Licensing agent.
Yeah, so again, the only things that some of the areas that are a little bit trickier is playground equipment. Our playground equipment is geared for kids that are not under 5 years old. So basically figuring out, and what Rob and I worked on that, he was out measuring playgrounds for me to, our areas of play where those children would be assigned to play, making sure that we have all of the requirements within the buildings as well. So there's quite a few, quite a bit of things that I would have never thought of that have to be included, but they were pleasantly surprised at how detail oriented I am. So it should be an easy transition once we have one done for each of the just before and seamless. It's really just copying and pasting from the other ones. So then the process gets easier.
So the next thing is coordinating with QP Local. So with Seamless Day Kindergarten, it requires us to come to the table with QP to sign a letter of understanding. So we're in that process now and meeting with QP to get that done and move ahead with Seamless Day Kindergarten.
And attending professional development from the Ministry of Education and Childcare. Since the beginning of September, we've had monthly check-ins for both just before and Seamless Day Kindergarten, as well as opportunities to participate in learning sessions on the environmental scan and the spaces, new spaces grants as well. Also with some of the professional development that we're doing is this, like Geraldine mentioned, was the CP4YC, which is changing possibilities for young children. And I think that's my favorite part of this project so far is the opportunity to work with my kindergarten teachers, my Strong Start educators, and a ministry designated person that coordinates change for us, looking at how we wonder about kids and how we wonder how we can make a difference. So that's probably one of my favorite PDs that I've had an opportunity so far. And our first one with CP4YC was when there was various educators across Canada actually that presented, and Monique Grace-Smith was one of them. And she talks about her book, I Hope, and really it sums it up. I hope that this program is a huge success because it's going to make a world of difference for kids. And the last one is developing our program handbooks. So I've been creating program handbooks for just Strong Start and just before and Seamless Day Kindergarten as well. Do you remember for you?
Yeah, they have.
Oh, you have them. So, and then brochures, that's the ones we did for Strong Start. We had a community fair at Soo Ul Laks October 22nd, and we had that information for parents and then the Strong Start booklets. But the goal is to have nice communication for families to access with all of our programs. All right, last slide. All right, so our 3-year plan for early learning. So currently, as mentioned, we have a just before coming into our district as a pilot and Seamless Day Kindergarten. So both of them are happening here in Terrace. Next year, we are going to be introducing a Seamless Day Kindergarten, one in Terrace and one in Kitimat, a just before preschool, one in Terrace, one in Kitimat, and one in the Hazelton. And our idea is wherever we're putting in a new center, we want to pair it with Strong Start. So if they don't have an existing Strong Start coordinator, we really want to put an emphasis on the Strong Start and just before being paired together, because the hours can give, we can fit it in with the QP regulations, and then it gives somebody a more full-time opportunity. And our final year of our 3-year learning plan, our goal is that every primary school out of the 11 has one of the early learning opportunities within their building. So our goal is really to push getting early childhood educators trained and interested in working in our communities.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you very, very much. Talking about something that's dear to my heart, and I love that you're doing the licensing work now, and I'm no longer doing it, and I'm retired because it is lots of paperwork. There is a little nudge to help to make some changes there. And I love that you mentioned Monique Grace-Smith, and of course her book I think is amazing, and her new book that's just come out is also very, very amazing. So And she has been up in our district before and spoken with us. So let's get her back up here at some point again too. She's so inspiring. Any questions to our presenters from the trustees? If not, we'll get started into our meeting by introducing ourselves, which I didn't do when I did the Welcome to the Territory. And for the first time in my ears, and there's been a few, Carol was so busy, she didn't get me my speaking notes, so you got whatever I'm thinking of right now.
I'll whisper in her ear.
Yeah, and she'll correct me afterwards. So I'd like to start just by introducing myself and have the board members introduce themselves. And then we did have our inaugural meeting, and I thank those that came to that special meeting, but we started our 4-year term. I'm Margaret Borthwick. I'm the trustee from Terrace, and I'm the current board chair, and I'll go to this side of the room and trustees can introduce themselves and say what they are doing.
Okay, I'm Mike Maxim. I'm the trustee for Thornhill. First time carpenter, landlord. Want to bring a perspective of my view of essential things that people need to know when they get out of school and into the real world.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Karen?
I'm Karen Youngman, a trustee from Kitimat. I'm just beginning my 2nd term and I'm very happy to be here.
I'm Sunny Duncan Green from Kitimat, too. I am a financial analyst for LNG Canada. First term as school board trustee.
Good evening. My name is Julia Sindel. I'm the trustee representing Hazelton, and I'm also your school trustee provincial counselor.
I'm Harris, I'm the trustee from Terrace, and this is my 2nd year on the board, and I'm looking forward to it.
And Wayne.
I'm Wayne Jones, I'm a trustee for Stewart, and I'm very happy to be here tonight, and I was especially impressed with the presentations I've seen thus far.
Aaron, would you like to introduce yourself and your team?
Sure, yeah. So it's a pleasure to be here this evening. It's Aaron Callahan, Superintendent of Schools for Coast Mountain School District. And I'm going to pass it over to each team members to introduce themselves. We'll start right here.
I'm a Hupo, the Tax East Newsom, name's IPIU. Language name is Robert Clifton, the feast name is Linging Polite, which is Singing Shaman. And Gitga'at People Ascension Nation. I'm the Director of Instruction for Indigenous Education.
Hi, everyone. My name is Geraldine Lawler, and I'm Director of Instruction for Graduation and Innovation.
Hi, I'm Tina McDonald, District Vice Principal for Early Learning and Childcare.
Namaste. Good evening, everybody. My name is Julia McCall. I'm Director of Instruction and Support.
Good evening, everyone. Philip Barron, District Principal.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rob Shibley, and I'm the Director of Facility Services for the school district.
And good evening. I'm Ginger Fuller. I'm the secretary treasurer to the board.
Ready for our 2 guests. Jocelyn, introduce themselves too.
You guys go first.
I'm Kim Meyer, and I'm the local president in Kitimat.
And I'm Dawson Bag, and I'm the local president in Terrace.
So, oh, and Carol, sorry.
Yes.
Teachers.
I'm Carol Gagnon, and that's executive assistant. Welcome to our board meeting this evening.
She's going to nudge me whenever I forget something else as well. That's why she sat behind me there. So welcome, everybody. This is our first formal meeting that as we've been having a couple of days earlier today and all day Saturday of board orientation. We've been on a real learning curve. And we have a number of things that we want to discuss before we get our work plan for the year all into place. So let's start with the board meeting. We do have a quorum. And when we get down to my board chair report, we'll talk about committees and where everybody's going to start their work. So we have a quorum, and could I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Right, seconder, Karen. All in favor? Pass.
Aye.
Yeah, just go ahead and say yes, Wayne.
Yes, I'd say aye. Yes, yes.
Thank you. 4.1 is approval of the minutes of our prior meetings. The regular meeting was October 26, 2022, on pages 2 to 10. Could I have a motion for approval, please? So Ed, thank you. Seconder, Mike,
I'll second the motion.
thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. 4.2, the inaugural meeting, November 17th, 2022, on pages 11 to 15. Can I have a motion to approve, please?
I have a motion.
Thank you, Julia. Seconded. Sunny, thank you. And you'll see from the minutes that what we did was elect our chair, our vice chair, our BCTC rep, and our BCSTA reps and alternates. So that's in the minutes there for you. And thank you, Julia, and everybody who did the work. Ginger for running the meeting for us. All in favor of those meeting minutes? I think I did that passed. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. 5.1 is receipt of the in-camera meetings for October 26, 2022, on pages 16 to 17. Can I have a motion to receive the in-camera meetings minutes? So, Karen. Seconder, Ed. All in favor? Thank you, pass. There was no business arising from the minutes, and there was no correspondence received, so we can move to the superintendent of schools monthly report. All yours.
Thank you, Chair. It's a pleasure to share some highlights from the superintendent's report, which is found on pages 19 through 22 in the package. Just want to start off by acknowledging this time of year in our school system is reporting period. So certainly a thank you going out to our school staff members who are engaged in that reporting process. And in the opening message from the superintendent, certainly highlighting the opportunities that the reporting process presents for students, parents, caregivers, and teachers to engage in very meaningful dialogue around student strengths and challenges, as well as plan for next steps in their learning for the remainder of the school year. Page 20 of the superintendent's of the report this evening, the second page of the superintendent's report, is a chance to identify the engage, ignite, empower action items that the school district has committed to for the 2022-23 school year. I've actually just noticed a typo in the report, so make sure we get that fixed. The action items are those commitments that the district will undertake over the next 7 to 8 months of our school year that are focused on working towards the goals as identified in the district's strategic plan. So just to identify a couple of those, just to highlight really a couple of those action items from the superintendent's report. The first one under the goal area of all students realizing their full potential is the commitment to engage this year in a engaging district champions in the development of a K-3 literacy strategy. And this will be not unlike many items in our action items this year. It's a multi-year, it's the first step this year in a multi-year strategy to ensure every learner in our system is a reader by the time they exit our system in grade 3 onto grade 4. I'd also like to highlight from that goal area the consultation with provincial partners. It's the fourth bullet where our school district is engaged in a robust teacher recruitment strategy in an effort to secure a full complement of the very best educators to reside and work in our classrooms during the 23 and 24 school year. Second goal area is honoring and respecting culture, diversity, and inclusion. And I'd like to highlight the first action item as identified in this report is working in cooperation with local First Nations to develop a comprehensive professional learning resource to support in future years to support school district employees with attainment of Indigenous cultural competency that will support them in their work in our school district. For the third goal area, we will facilitate well-being across the district. I would like to take the time this evening to identify the second action item in the list, which is building a system understanding of safe, caring, and welcoming schools through the solicitation of student voice. And what this, of course, is getting at this year is the district's commitment to engage students in student forum opportunities throughout the district, so that we are hearing directly from students as to their perspectives around safety in school, as well as their understanding of being a learner in a caring and welcoming school and classroom. So those are just a few of the highlights towards the commitments of our work that will see us through the remainder of the school year. I'd also like to take the opportunity to highlight on the third page of the report, the fact that we have a lot of educators working this year, or teachers in our system, a number that's in excess of 50 that are teachers that are new to the profession or working with a letter of permission. And on page 3, we've identified commitment by the district to support those individuals in new teacher mentoring opportunities that will happen throughout the school year this year. We know how important it is in the early part of an educator's career to support them with practices and resources and critical dialogue to support them in their work every day with students. And that's a commitment our district is making this year. There's also a couple of highlights on the same page that cycle back to something we've been talking about for the last couple of months, which is the Student and Family Affordability Fund, which of course is that fund that has come from the government this year. The early start of our school year is approximately $500,000 for Coast Mountain School District. The visual that you'll find on that page speaks to the funding bins based on the consultation that we engaged in through the month of October, which sees 5% of those funds moving towards support of the school concert series. It sees 75% of the funding going towards the support of school and community food programs, and it sees 20% of the funding in support of school-related fees and expenses. On that final note, there is to share in the report is the new request form for parents and caregivers and school staff. It's called the Support Request for Families in Need. And it's an online form, and it's a paper-based form that's in our schools that any parent or caregiver or school staff can take and fill out in application for funds that are in support of some school supplies, winter clothing, school fees, participation in school activities, extracurricular events, and so on. So we're very happy to have that opportunity, so that dollars go to the pocketbooks of families to support the costs of education for their children. And finally, on the last page, just want to highlight, again, like last month, we are using social media quite extensively to tell some of the wonderful stories of things that are happening in our schools, of which we've highlighted a few in the report this month. And also, of course, the recruitment that's happening throughout the school year. We have a theme, and the theme is the mountains are calling, and it is in an effort to support the district's recruitment efforts to ensure that we have that full complement of teachers in our school, in our classrooms going forward. So those are a few of the highlights from this month's report.
Thank you. So our recommended action is that we receive the superintendent's monthly report as presented. Is someone so moved? Thank you, Julia. Seconder? Yeah. Any questions related to what he shared with us? All in favor? Yes, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead, Wayne, sorry. Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, you said yes?
Yes.
To pass the question, okay. I will now move to the Indigenous Education Report. Robert.
I'm pleased to give you an overview of the engagement related to the work that we've been doing to uplift Indigenous education. In the third month of work, or actually it's the fourth since I started in August. The first thing I'd like to report on is that we, as reported last time, were successful, one of 9 successful districts that are working in a ministry initiative to uncover student success that will contribute to the equitable transformation of schools and the work that we do within schools to understand how to measure success through qualitative data rather than just relying on quantitative data. And so there is a change to be made here due to unforeseen extenuating circumstances. We will no longer be working with Hazelton Secondary School, and the pivot has been made to be working with Skeena Middle School moving forward. The Indigenous Resource Centers are undergoing a transformation for next school year. We are looking at them as activated as learning hubs that are going to be learner-centered, which will include elders and residents and community members who are also language and cultural knowledge holders. So ongoing work and consultations are going to be continuing over the coming months with both community and all stakeholders. Indigenous language revitalization has been contracted out for over 5 years. That, as an ongoing contract, is ending as of December 31st. The school district is not severing the relationship with Colleen Austin, but is instead going to go towards moving per actionable request based on a report of items that she will be presenting by the end of the year that weren't actioned during her tenure in the position. I do want to make an addition as well that as a request from the Gitxsan Government Commission to for a letter of support, they are going to be developing a K-4 language framework and materials, and has requested our support both in their application for funding from 4 other agencies, and as well to supplement, or for us to agree for supplementation of any funding received. So we look forward to supporting that in having locally developed resources for their people. Again, ongoing meetings with stakeholders from all across the parts of the system continues. This includes our monthly department team meetings, and will also include in-person training for First Nations support workers around First Nations support reporting, which is our accountability to 131 funding, is to track the number of contacts, both academic, social, emotional, food related services that are provided. And so we have a number of new Indigenous support workers that will need that training. In relation to staffing, we have hired 1 more position at Hazelton Secondary School, and now we have a complete team of Indigenous support workers in place, that for a total of 4. I'd also like to acknowledge Jeannie Stepp, who has been working for our school district for over 20 years and in service. She has been in a variety of positions, but recently has been the resource clerk and also district Indigenous support worker for part of her position at Kitimat City High. And she has made the decision to retire in January 2023 to take care of her health, and we wish her all the best in her retirement. It is somewhat feel a loss, because she is somebody who holds a lot of the history and knowledge, and I hope that I can call on her on occasion. Looking forward in relation to staffing, Erin and I were able to lean into the relationships that I have with management and faculty at UBC, and we're able to have 3 meetings with current teacher candidates who are interested in coming to Coast Mountain School District for their community field experience program. We originally had Geraldine had negotiated 8 spots, 4 in elementary and 4 in secondary. But after our meetings, there was considerable interest in coming to Coast Mountains, especially from an outdoor education cohort. And so we will be opening another 6 spaces for teachers who are interested in that field experience. And that is a 3-week practicum experience. And I know with working with teacher candidates last year, there were quite a few that had the field experience that actually ended up staying and being hired by the school district. So I'm hopeful that is something that will contribute to happening for us. The Intertribal Education Committee, that what has been, and I state here newly formed, but it is actually newly ignited. We'll be meeting on December 5th at Sewell Apps, and I have asked to meet with them to share my work plan with the education coordinators and managers and receive some feedback related to that, and so they can help identify the things that they see as priorities related to their goals and aspirations for the students that they work with. I also note that we will also be meeting with the Intertribal Committee, the district senior staff, to review their current revisions. They are currently working on revisions to the an LEA. And from what I understand in conversation is that there will be a intertribal LEA negotiated with appendices at the back that will respect the distinct nature of each of the community's needs. The equity stand, in which Coast Mountain School District piloted back in 2019, I believe, was an ongoing cycle of inquiry related to the growth points and the areas to celebrate of success in relation to Indigenous student learning. There was to be a regional meeting of northern school districts to be held within the upcoming 3 months, but after a conversation with Joe Heslop at the ministry, I, along with him, have made a decision to reactivate and start a new chapter of this work, since I am new to the plan, and also wanting to ensure that we are with a whole bunch of new people at the table are able to look back, but also move forward with understanding how the equity scan is contributing to the impact that is needed for Indigenous learners. We attended the BCSSA conference, Aaron and I was able to present as part of an Indigenous leadership group, a presentation on Indigenous foundations of leadership. The 5 R's: relationship, respect, responsibility, relevance, and reciprocity. I'm going to be putting my name forward again for this leadership cohort, which is a 2-year cohort. I've also been asked to co-facilitate the opening session for a new inaugural group that will be formed in January. I've also been asked to co-facilitate the first session for all BCSSA members on decolonizing leadership. We have engaged consultant Kathy Sawchuk, who has visited our district to work with principals and vice principals. One of the areas in which a request was made from Gitxsan community was to throw everything we could at early literacy. And so with that in mind, we are going to be starting a focused literacy initiative on an invitational basis, first with K-1 teachers. And we are doing this in a small scale to learn its impact on our Indigenous primary learners. And this will potentially become part of another tool in our toolkit because there is a district-wide approach to early literacy that's currently being designed by the district education team. In addition, she will also be coming to co-facilitate a full day this Friday with me for the Indigenous Education Department, which is the mainly Indigenous support workers and the youth workers, with invitation for our culture and language teachers to attend, if they'd like. But we are doing work to transform on how our Indigenous education team delivers their supportive programming and also to learn new coaching and mentoring strategies. And finally, we had a chance to do our first in-person circle in relation to principals, vice principals, shared learning circle. And we are using Joe Coleman's book, Waiwa, and it was a very rich conversation, and we will be having another one next Tuesday where we'll be featuring principals in that inner circle. So thank you for letting me share all the work that we made up to.
So if I could have a motion to receive the Indigenous Education Report. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Julia, any questions? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Julia first and then Ed.
Robert, I'm just wondering, is there a copy of the think tank report on the website?
Yes, there is.
Perfect.
And-
That's where I will access it. Thank you.
Oh, there isn't on the website, sorry.
Oh, it isn't?
I can send it to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, I second it.
Ed,
Robert, did I hear right that you're moving the community of practice from Hazelton to Skinner Middle School?
Yes.
Is there a reason for that?
Yes, it's respecting some requests that were privy to our senior management team, and we made a decision that it was in best interest to work with Christine.
Sonny.
Thank you, Robert, for your report. I just have a question. You said the Intertribal Education Committee. I'm not sure if you mentioned who are the members that joined us?
All the members from all nations. So this was a committee that was, I think, engaged prior to 2003. And they worked up until 2013. And that was when additional LEAs were negotiated between separate communities. In the two education committee meetings ago, they informed us of their intent to work together again. And we were very excited and supportive that they are actually coming together to decide on what it means to be in service to each community.
Okay, so these are like the communities that our district serves.
Yes, yes. Kitsans, Isla, Niska, and it's the education managers and coordinators from each of those bands.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
So Robert, I had two questions. One of the roles that we have to figure out is where our committees are in the future.
Mhm.
We're going to do our business and education committee later, but in the past, on the Intertribal Education Committee, or there was something else previously, we always had a board trustee rep. It was Sharp for the longest time. So what I'm asking if the board is comfortable is that the management team think about where you're wanting trustees onto your committees. The other one that I noticed, because I was looking at Prince Rupert's, trying to find their emails, by the way, they don't put them all up on their website for the trustees. They actually have a trustee on their equity scan committee as well.
Yes, yeah.
And so as a board, I'm asking on behalf of the board, could the management team let us know where you want committee reps or trustees to sit and help? It's not totally clear yet. What we're going to do.
And I will acknowledge that prior processes and structures that were in place before are in transition right now. And part of my communication with the Intertribal Education Committee is to get their understanding of or their input to co-imagine what this might look like moving forward. There are a few ideas that are being floated, but I'm not ready to share them yet. But definitely see that the previous regional committees, that work that was being done is actually being done now by the intertribal committee. And so my question will be to them, yeah, what does this look like moving forward? So
Great.
I'm
Please
thank
let
you.
us know, and our goal as trustees, and our learning curve is to talk about more about the committees in December 14th. So that we get more information, we can on the equity committee,
Right.
so people can make a choice what they want to go
Right.
to as well. So
Okay, thank you.
whatever you can do, we're aiming to that. Yeah.
So I'm not sure that I know what equity scan is. Is equity scan a group or is equity scan a scanning of something?
Okay, so the equity scan is a tool that is being put forward by the Ministry of Education, the Indigenous Education Department. And it is now being used by every school district in British Columbia as a tool to help understand the points in which learning, governance, policy, all of those things are in place to serve best the needs of Indigenous students. And so it is a inquiry process of a series of questions and conversations and collection of data to help all different stakeholders across, from administrators to community voice to trustees to managers to student voice and teachers. So teachers union is also included in that equity scan process, so that we're all in relationship to talking about what it means to have equity at the center of the work that we do.
Okay, so is it a website or?
I can provide you a website link for more information.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Other questions?
Okay,
One more?
one more, yeah. It says here, unpack a chapter of Joe Cronin's book. Now, I don't know who Joe Cronin is right now. Does he only have one book?
Okay, Joe Crona is a two-spirit person of both Tsimshian and, to get this right, I know she is Tsimshian from Kitsinkalem for sure. She was the previous finesse education person who was responsible for the curriculum and learning division at finesse.
Okay.
She has now stepped away from that position and is continuing her work independently as a consultant across the province, and is engaged on many tables provincially and involved with many associations, and is a presenter.
Okay. Would this be something that I could read?
Yes, I have a copy.
So that's a hard copy. Not.
It's a soft cover book.
I
Wow. Yeah.
So I just got.
It's not electronic, but it is something you can hold.
You gotta help
No,
me
you
out.
can't. I just got a nudge.
Yeah.
I'm saying, and I asked for the book last week when we were talking about it, because I hadn't read it, and I understand all trustees would give it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah. Plus, I also asked Robert to give me the list of the next books that they're reading and talking about, because I'm interested. So some of them we may have read, or I may have read. So I need a motion to receive the information from the Indigenous Education Report. Mike? Sunny?
Okay, I think we already did that. We just need to-
Oh, we just need to pass it. Have to nudge me the other way. Okay. Oh, are we all in favor? Pass. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So we'll now move on to the standing committee reports, and we have the business committee meeting reports. So we have minutes attached, and then there's a motion, and we can do questions to our secretary treasurer if required, that the minutes of the business committee meeting be, oh, Karen, I have to pass this to you, and you're chairing for the few minutes while I make a couple of motions. Yeah.
Okay, I was looking in the flurry for my notes for the next one, I'm sorry.
So I move that the minutes of the business committee meeting held on November 9th, 2022 be received for information. You asked if it's all in favor.
All in favor? There we go. Thank you.
Yes.
We move to also, Karen continuing to step in for me to 10.12, the quarterly financial statements. And they're on page 29 to 33. And I move the board receive for information the quarterly financial statements as of September 30th, 2022.
I had questions about that.
You can ask me questions next. Questions?
Next.
Questions, and Ginger's here to answer them. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know how to read this. I don't know how that, this preliminary budget, I don't know exactly what those numbers are representing. And then there's this percentage remaining on this. Actually, it's a little mystery to me.
Okay, so I'll go over it, but we can spend some time. I'll go over it now, but we can spend some time if you have more questions beyond that. And we can go from there. So at the end of June of 2022, the board passed a preliminary budget. And so that is the column here. That is shows that we expect for the whole year 54 million in revenues, and we expect to spend 55 million and use 517 thousand of our carryover. And so we're looking at having a surplus deficit of $386,557, which the board approved using our local capital fund to fund that potential over expenditure. Carry on?
Carry on.
Okay. So in the first column, that is what we've received or have spent as of September 30th. So that is reporting from July 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2022. So in that time, pardon me?
I understand these are actual numbers.
They are actual
They're
numbers.
hard when they happen. Okay.
Yeah, so we received 7.4 million so far. We've sent 8.2 million. We have a net expense over revenue of 790,000, and we have an appropriated surplus from last year of 1.2 million. So we're showing a balance, a surplus balance at this point of 424,000. So along the third column is a percent variance. So basically what it's telling you is of the preliminary budget, we still have 88% or 86% from all our revenue sources for the rest of the year. And at the bottom, it says that we have 85% of expenses to still expense throughout the rest of the year to June 30th. And that's 85%. So what we're always looking for is that the top amount, 86%, is either matching or hopefully a percent higher, so that we are looking that we are in a balance or surplus situation of a budget. We are always looking to balance our budget to zero.
Okay, I feel a little embarrassed actually, because I thought that said 0.88%, which is like 0.88% is not very much less.
Oh, no. Is there any other questions?
Questions for Ginger?
Okay, so you have a first and second reading to vote now. Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, I'll take the chair back and give you the floor, Karen, for the education committee.
All right. Yeah, we had our education committee meeting on November 23rd. Where's my notes here? Still can't find them, that's okay, I'll just go off through them. Yeah, we had a great meeting. We had a presentation of the strategic plan by our superintendent, Aaron. And during that meeting, we had a breakout groups, 4 breakout groups, different topics, great discussions. I know that each group really could have gone on for a while, like really engaging, interesting topics, a lot of food for thought. So I just want to acknowledge that there was a lot of great discussion during that meeting. And yeah, and there were no submitted items. And our next education meeting is on December the 7th via Zoom. That's my report.
So can I have a motion to accept the education committee meeting minutes of November 16th, 2022? So moved, Karen. Second. Ed? Any further questions on Karen's report and minutes? All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, and then the strategic plan, 10.2.2, strategic action plan. Aaron, did you want to speak anything to the call before the motion comes forward?
No, just to suggest that they are the same action items that were presented this month in the superintendent's report. So they correctly dated action plan 2022-23.
Yes. So could I have a motion to accept the strategic plan, action plan 2022 to 2023? Sunny, thank you. Seconder, Julia. Any further questions for our superintendent or our team that has been working hard on it?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
It says develop district professional learning resources that build capacity related to inclusive. So the concept. What does that mean by build capacity?
Yeah, so professional learning resources that can be used by district staff so that they gain understanding of concepts and can apply those concepts to their practice.
Resources means books?
It could be books. In this case, it's probably more than likely going to be some online learning, what could be a combination of text and media and video.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? All in favor? Thank you.
Yes.
There were no, thank you, Gwen. There was no new business to report. So we moved to 12.1, the board chair report, which is attached in your packages there. And we need to move acceptance of the report, and then I'll speak to a few other items. I have a mover to receive my report. Karen, second. And okay, so a couple of speaking notes before we pass. First of all, I want to emphasize the compliment that I got from a parent in terms of the consultation that we did for the funding for helping food security and students. It was nice for a parent just to stop me, which they do in Safeway and various places like that. But to give us a compliment, that was great. And so well done to get that input and make those monies go the best that we possibly can to help our students and families that way. And then the other thing that I wanted to add to my report is that after we've elected the board chair and the vice chair, we now then look at the appointments to the business committee and to the education committee. And I did review that our policy for doing this in governance was actually done way back in 2013. And as things are changing, like I just asked with Robert, it'll be appropriate for us to review our committee structures, not these two standing committees because they're from legislation, but the other committees that we've always had so that we can move forward. So I am asking for business if Ed Harrison will chair the committee. And if Sunny Duncan Green and Mike Maxim will sit on the committee. Business committee.
I'm on business.
Yeah. And then I am asking if Karen Yonkin will chair committee for education, and Julia Sundell and Wayne Jones will sit on the committee, and then the board chair sits ex officio for those. The next
Yes.
part I want to thank you to discuss is that we have the standing committees. We also have in the legislation the liaison committees, and the liaison committees liaise with individual schools. And in particular, when you read the School Act, which I haven't looked at for a while, to be honest, it's a strong liaison to the parent advisory committees. And we are struggling in some of our schools with the PACs and how to do it. So what I'm asking for this time is that for December 14th, we have a really good discussion about the liaison committees and the PAC and how we can be effective for a liaison and determine who would be most effective with each school. But I don't want to miss the fact that there is Christmas stuff happening and schools do want us. So asking the superintendent if he can get the principals to invite us to anything would be fun to do. And that if a trustee, for example, I know in Hazelton, they've asked Julia to come in, if you can start the dialogue with the principal and see how it would work best. And then we can confirm the appointments in December 14th when we can figure out how to make it work best. And I say that because during COVID, we did a lot just by Zoom coming into PAC meetings when they were held. But even prior to that, we've had times where we're guests in the school and the principals and some of the staff actually feel that we're threatening, like that we're there to inspect or we're there to tell them what to do or whatever. And I want to work through some of the protocol, have a discussion on the 14th about some of the protocols on how we do this and how we receive information and how we have good dialogues and how we're collaborative that way. So we need to talk that way a little bit. Plus, we've been very busy and all of the trustees need to get their criminal record checks updated, etc., before we're in the schools much. So principals must invite us now and schedule times until all of that paperwork is done and all the name tags, which I understand all the administrative team are using now, are done. So it's more of a time management thing because, well, we're not ready for the discussion yet, but we will get ready for the 14th. But I don't want to miss the principals inviting us to the good stuff that's happening and the start of the conversation. So if trustees are comfortable with that, that's how we will go forward until the 14th. Other than two things. The time, I guess, in management in terms of there was the meeting with the scholarship committee occurred 2 days ago, so I went. And so I don't mind doing the scholarship committee unless somebody really pushes me and says they want to do it. It's a twice a year meeting. And the other is our superintendent and myself attended UNBC and they're starting their strategic planning. And so when we look at our committee structure, we should talk about who should be appointed from the board to go and participate. Well, I would like all trustees and all staff to participate in their strategic plan as much as possible, but I do put that on the table. We should have some meetings on that as well. Questions on those? Thoughts? I think I covered my school notes here. Okay. Good. All right. Pass on the report to you, Steve. No, all in favor of receiving my report? Thank you. So now we move to the BC delegate report. Karen, did you have anything there on page 43 to 45? No, I don't have the papers.
Yeah, it was a great symposium, really good symposium. Unfortunately, there was a few travel hiccups and Margaret missed one day and who was it? Karen didn't make it.
Karen, yeah.
Karen didn't make it. Just what are you going to do? We live in the north and that's just how it is sometimes, unfortunately. But yeah, some of the highlights, just go over a little bit. Jennifer Whiteside spoke, and lots of interesting points. And some of these things I really felt I should have known already, but I didn't know. 12% of our student population in BC self-identify as Indigenous. 6,800 students, that's the figure she gave. And the completion rate of Indigenous students is 72.5%, which is 20% less than non-Indigenous students. That's shameful. We have to do better. We really do. All of us have to commit to truth and reconciliation. The minister stated that 50% of the students in the Greater Vancouver area are visible minorities. So there's a whole international melting pot in Vancouver. Maybe more so than here in Kitimat we used to. Apparently 100,000 people have moved to BC in the last year, 60% from out of country, 40% from out of province. I found that interesting. Tens of thousands more are expected every year, and it's not expected that this pace is going to slow down anytime soon. So at the end of her presentation, she didn't ask a question that I had, or answer a question that I had. I asked her about all the people that are moving to BC, you know, out of country, out of province. How many of these people coming here are teachers? How many have credentials of some sort? And is there any possibility of some fast tracking to get these credentials, you know, verified and get some of these teachers qualified into the classrooms where we really, really need them? And she said, yes, they are developing it at this time, and also for medical personnel. So I was happy to hear that. So, yeah, another thing that I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know, and I should know, is the last residential school in Canada closed in 1996. 1996, not 1966, 1996. And a food for thought, any Indigenous person 41 years or older is a potential residential school survivor. And I will keep that close to my heart and remind myself of that all the time. So, there's so much. Like I just have this report here, but I have pages and pages and pages of notes, and couldn't possibly, it'd be a book. Something interesting from the WorkSafe BC did a presentation, and currently there's additions to some regulations, first aid requirements and violence in the workplace, and there's 2 sections forthcoming, including worker participation and psychological safety. So looking forward to that. Another topic talked about professional boundaries and calling them blurred lines, and it's to do with professionals working professionally with students and practicing due diligence and being appropriate communications, and just being the professional and not getting off on the wrong track with any of the students. There was working sessions again, and topics: equity and diversity, work-life balance for leaders, occupational health and safety updates, and recruitment and retention are our favorite for everybody, right? Good sessions, learned a lot, heard many different opportunities, and it was mindful and personally reflective for me. It was an excellent symposium, and I thank you all for having attended. Thank you. So I move on.
Seconder for receiving Chairman's report. Thank you, Julia. All in favor? Any questions for Karen? Well summarized. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. The WorkSafe BC, in terms of the psychological, did they talk about that in terms of teachers in the classroom?
Yes.
At this point?
Yes, at injury, you know, talking about bullying and how it can be an injury, a psychological injury.
So that would be bullying by the student towards the teacher?
I don't remember any type of distinction there, but I don't want to specify, but I betcha it can go many ways.
Other questions from staff? Trustee reports. Does anybody have any report? Everybody's in favor of accepting Karen's report? Yes, I did that before I asked that. Okay. Trustees, do you have anything to report or want to share? Ed?
I was at Uplands for the presentation on the raising, no, it wasn't the raising, it was the bringing of the pole from Sweden. Sonny, what's the name of the pole? It's called. I tried to practice that before I came. And that was really interesting. The students, Mel and Furman came, and Nelson, I can't remember Nelson's last name.
Nelson Training.
Yes. And the student reaction in the class was horrendous. Like the questions that they were asking was steady flow. And I know they have prepared some questions, but they have not prepared a lot of others. And they were very focused and very on task. And I thought, wow, this is just a good presentation. So I'd like to thank the teacher and the school for inviting.
Yes.
Yes, but grades that it was included in
Grade
those?
5.
Grade 5. Keith.
Other questions or trustee reports?
I had a question. I might have missed my opportunity to go. Now, it says in your report, it says changes and additions to the regulations currently in progress.
Yes.
Does that mean that changes and additions have happened, or are they currently in progress?
They're in progress, they're being worked on, finalized, and will be released soon.
Okay.
That's what she said, yeah. Yeah, check that out. I can-
Yeah.
No, it's not published or whatever, yeah.
Other trustees have any questions or something to share? Any questions? When I know none were submitted ahead of time, but do you have any questions or no? Any questions from staff? Motion to adjourn. It's been a long day. We're out of here. Thank you all. It's still raining.
I have it already.
We're gonna have team meeting at 8:00.
Like in an hour or?